Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life. Welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. I'm your host, Madison Malloy, and on today's episode, I'm sitting down with rock star producer Dave Goldberg, who is behind shows like Gotham Comedy Live, Funny Women of a Certain Age, and so many more shows that you will recognize. And he is here to talk about comedy, to talk about all things Hollywood, and just have a fun conversation of the creativity and what we can see next for the age of television and production. So we'll be right back after this brief message with our amazing guest on this episode of Next to Madison. Hi, it's your host, Madison Malloy. For those of you who don't know, I've written and created a powerful collection of books to help you build confidence, shift your mindset, and attract the life you truly want. From Time to Lighten the F Up, to Affirm and Flourish, Color Your Way to Abundance, and more. These aren't just books, they're tools for transformation. Grab a copy now on Amazon or at madisonmalloy.com. Now back to the show. All right, we are back with our amazing guest on this episode of Next to Madison, where we are talking all about entertainment, comedy, and other fun subjects that might just pop out. But I've got an amazing guest. I've got Dave Goldberg, who is the founder of Killer Bunny Entertainment, which has been behind some of your favorite comedy specials and TV shows on the air. So, Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. So, okay, Killer Bunny.
Killer Bunny.
How did this name come up?
Well, I had worked as a creative director at a different production company for many years, creating shows, like a lot of reality shows for different networks like Discovery, VH1, MTV, places like that. And then in 2005, that company kind of went away, and I had to figure out what am I going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start my own production company because I had already had a lot of connections in the TV world. I had sold a bunch of shows. I knew I can go out there and pitch my own stuff rather than getting a job at a network or anywhere else. And one day, as I was trying to come up with a name for my production company, I wasn't going to do like Dave Goldberg Productions because who would ever buy a show like that? I mean, and that logo would not be that cool, right? It's pretty weak. But I had a pet rabbit named Killer. She was this beautiful lop-eared, soft little bunny that, I love dearly. She was very interactive too. Unlike most people's beliefs, bunnies can actually like hang out with you, you know what I mean? And interact. So, she looked me in the eye and I looked at her and I'm like, oh, that should be the company Killer Bunny. And my wife and I had gotten her, when she was a baby from a discount pet store. So she was kind of like an irregular bunny, which made it even more funny for me. So that's where Killer Bunny came up from.
I love that. So it's like a personal name. And Killer Bunny started in 2005 and has had quite the run.
Yeah. Right out of the gate, we were pretty lucky. We did. Yeah. We started out with a true crime series for Court TV called Under Fire. And that was a show where we followed or told the stories of police officers that were involved in gunfights. It was one of those kind of like crack TV shows where you see like crazy shootouts and chases and stuff like that. The difference was my partner on this show was a retired police officer from New York City who had been in 4 gunfights himself during the 1980s. Jeez. When New York was a bloodbath. Yeah. So he had really great stories and visceral stories of what it was like, to be at the other end of a gun. And his mind was, if we can get other cops to express this, that would be a great way to, tell these stories. So that's what we did. We did about 2 seasons where we traveled all around the country hearing cops tell their stories. And again, we showed from the dash cams, from the body cams, of these really intense moments. Wow. So right out of the gate, we had a great show on the air. We did a lot of stuff for Court TV and True TV. And then we started moving into other types of reality shows. We did some music shows. But the best was, and we did some stuff with the mob as well. We did a bunch of shows for Discovery Channel about guys that went into witness protection that wanted to rat out their families. Those were fun.
But did you ever feel like when people say the mob, I mean, because we were both in New York City, right? Yeah. And the mob was very prevalent, so to say. I would run. Did you ever feel like fearful of your life, like kind of uncovering some of this stuff or going after this type of content?
Yes and no. Yes in that, well, first I'll say no because most of these guys had already ratted on their families and done their time or went into witness protection, but didn't really go into witness protection. Okay. They kind of like were hiding in plain sight. And at that point, a lot of the bosses had ratted out their families too. So it wasn't like that big of a deal. The mobs you had to watch out for at that point were more of like the Russians. You know, there were better people out there than there were the Italian mafia. But there was one point, I had just launched a Facebook page. I had never done that. I avoided it. And I got a call from one of the mobsters I was working with. He was like, "Hey, Davey, I see you and I got the same birthday." And I was like, "Oh, man. Now I realize like my personal crap is out there." You know what I mean? And anyone can find out. So I've kind of, that kind of put a clue in my head. Not to mention like, you know, we would do, like some of these guys that were giving us information or going on camera, it was like literally, you know, $5,000 in cash in a brown paper bag that you would give them. You know what I mean? And they would tell us.
So you had to pay them in cash when they were on the show?
Yeah.
I don't know if Discovery knows that, but
that's how you did it. You know?
That's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, it was weird. Like one guy had 19 bodies, you know, buried all around New York. And the feds knew this. This is how he was able to get away. He confessed to everything.
Okay.
But then he also ratted out the bigger bosses, right? So that's what he did. But, you know, he's so casual about it. They're so matter of fact.
So he didn't go to jail because he ratted out the bigger players.
He did go to jail. I think he served a couple of years. But because he ratted out the bosses, he didn't go to jail for life. You know, he went to jail for a handful of years as opposed to spending every day in prison.
So did they go and dig up the bodies or just leave them be?
I don't know if they cared.
Oh.
I don't know the answer to that one.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I used to have this joke in comedy. You know, I'm from Colorado. And so as soon as you tell people that, they're immediately like, "Do you ski?" And I would say, you know, it's the only state that they just assume something. Like I would never meet somebody from New Jersey and be like, "So do you dump people in the Hudson River?" Yeah. But like that was the thing.
But that was the thing. They were so, I mean, they told me about people they killed just like, one day I went to my friend's house and he told me he just won, 5 large at OTB. So I took a frying pan, I smacked him over the head, I took the money and I left. Just like that.
It's like they had
And then he made me take him to a strip club, because he wanted to see like, the real New York. These are the guys I dealt with back then.
That's so. Did you ever feel like you were scared for your life because you were now going to put them on TV?
Yeah, but they wanted that. They're all hams. They all wanted to have their moment of fame. And you know what? The weird thing is because they're charming. You know what I mean? That's the funny thing. Like you kind of like them. You hang out with them. They've got these great stories. Some of them are really brutal, but they're also pretty clever.
Well, and some of the greatest movies that were so popular were based on kind of the mob. And so I think people maybe felt like they could relate to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole crazy world. But no, it's how much power they used to have.
Right, and that's all gone. I think Giuliani, when he was in office, he took that out. So the whole world changed. And then there were more violent mobsters that came into town than the Italian guys. They may still run stuff. I don't really know. But
so what network was this show on?
That was for Discovery Channel.
Okay, and how long did that one run?
We did 2 episodes. And there was a plan to do more. This is one of those things, and we'll get into this further, especially nowadays, where the TV business is so screwed up. The entire department, from the president to the senior VP to the development executive that bought our show, were all fired while we were in the middle of producing the second episode.
Okay.
And when the new regime came in, that was the end of it. So we got 2 on the air, and they just didn't do any more.
Yeah.
And that was that.
That kind of happens a lot.
Happens all the time. It's really crazy.
Their way, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so, so did you do more mob shows after that? Because it sounds like you were
we talked about doing more shows with the mob. We had a lot of networks that were curious and interested, but then, you get into other things. Like all of a sudden, something falls out of the sky. You're like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And one of those was I got a call from a guy who owned a bikini barbershop in the Jersey Shore. And he was like, yeah, I'm an airline pilot. He was probably making like $20,000 a year flying for like Continental Airlines, regional. But on a layover in Toronto, he met a girl and he pitched his idea to her, and she happened to have some money. So she invested in this bikini barbershop where, you get a great view and a great cut for a low price, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. It was like, now, obviously Jersey Shore had already been out.
Yeah.
So Snooki and all these people were big stars at this point. So he thought, this is dollar signs. This is going to be my Jersey Shore. Yeah. And we kind of thought the same.
Yeah.
So we went down, we shot a sizzle, and it was great because the guy was a complete misogynist, terrible boss, but that was part of the joke.
Yeah.
Like he would interview these girls, these 20-year-old girls that cut hair in bikinis. He would tell them to like spin around. He would say things like, I know you want to have sex with me, but I'm your boss, so you can't. But when I fire you, then it'll be okay. Like these are the things I would say on air. And it was really funny. It became a comedy.
Yeah.
And that show was picked up by HDNet, which was owned by Mark Cuban.
Okay.
And this is what will lead me to the comedy world.
Okay.
So Mark had the network HDNet. It was the first 24-hour full high-definition television network. So we were shooting these things in HD. I would send him, and Mark was the only one involved at the network. So we would send him a rough cut of an episode at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
By 5 a.m, I'd get notes. Like he loved it. He really did. We did a full season of that. The girls were outrageous. They were really funny. I'm still in touch with some of them. Yeah. This goes back, to 2012, I think, 13.
Yeah.
And they were great. At the end of our first season, we were ready to get renewed, and Mark changed the network. And this happens all the time, too. Networks decide they want to change their mandate. We had a pilot we did for Oxygen that was a comedy. They were ready to go with it. And then as we were negotiating, they decide we want to be in the true crime business. So that's when we started doing true crime for them.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mark. He said, I can't do this reality kind of like smutty stuff anymore. I want to do all live programming. I'm creating a network called Access TV. I want to do live concerts, live sports, live news, 24/7.
Okay.
And we said, of course we can do live. And I knew the owner of the Gotham Comedy Club, which is a great comedy club in New York City on 23rd Street. We shared space in the same building. His name is Chris Mazzilli.
Yeah,
and he was one of the best comedy club owners in the country. I mean, all the comics loved him. He had a great reputation. So I went to Chris and I said, how would you feel about doing a live comedy show out of here once a week?
Yeah.
And he said, sure. I swear to you, within 48 hours, we had a deal with Mark to do a live stand-up comedy series. And that became a show called Gotham Comedy Live, which we did for 6 seasons. I think we did about 130 hours, all live, uncensored. Comics could say and do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best show we ever produced.
Yeah. Well, just to have like that unfiltered and that live and you guys had a lot of great hosts.
Oh, yeah. The best thing about that show, aside from it just being live and uncensored where you could do whatever you want, every episode was hosted by a famous comic. And then he or she would bring on 4 up-and-coming comics. So we had everyone from like Norm Macdonald and John Lovitz, more older school guys.
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong. Yeah, I mean, and then also we brought on some celebrities that wanted to do comedy for the first time, like Pamela Anderson or David Hasselhoff.
I remember those ones, yeah.
Even Fran Drescher came out and did a show for us. And, she was obviously a famous comedic actress, but she had never done stand-up before, and she killed it.
Yeah.
So we did 26 of those, and that show was great. And then we also launched a lot of careers, too. Mm-hmm. Because like people like Pete Davidson, Michael Che, Colin Jost, Taylor Tomlinson, all these acts you're seeing now had not been on television before. Yeah. So they were getting their chance to do like 8 to 10 minutes live. Yeah. And again, whatever they wanted.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, and so what are some, is there any like specific like scenario or story or guest that like really kind of stood out to you? Wow. Either in a good way or a bad way?
What was interesting was that a lot of them, all these comedians, people tell you they're dark, they have these like dark souls and they're, they come from tragedy. They were all so happy to be there. I mean, one of them, Bill Engvall, who was a blue collar comedy guy who now had a private jet and flew all around. This guy was doing arenas. That was his thing. He came into a club of 150 to 200 people, and he said it was the best night of comedy he'd done in probably 15 years. He loved it.
That's amazing.
I mean, that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these people were really having a great time. I remember my wife used to like hang out and chat with the makeup artist and while they're doing stuff. I remember she asked Gilbert Gottfried like weird questions like, you're from Brooklyn? He goes, yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. He goes, were you in the gang? Like they would have these fun moments where they would just goof around. Yeah. So one, fun story. In just a second. Oh, I'll tell you one thing that was really funny. That almost killed the show. I was terrified. Bobby Lee was hosting.
Okay.
And at the end of his set, so the way it worked was the host would come up and do like an 8 to 10 minute set of his own material, then introduce 4 or 5 other comics that would do their sets. And then the host would kind of close the show with a couple of minutes just to do a little bit more shtick if there was time. Bobby Lee comes up to me just before he's about to wrap up the show and goes, can I get naked? And I said, absolutely. Yeah. Why not? The network's uncensored. Do it, man. Just go for it. So he gets on stage, he takes off all his clothes except his tighty whities, and I think he's just going to do like a weird set. I didn't know how naked he was going to get, but that's as naked as he got.
Yeah.
He gets into it, and within about 10 seconds, as the cameras are rolling live, and there's no delay, he puts his balls on a guy in the front row's head and rests it. And we've got 4 cameras, and you see the guy's face, and I was like, oh man.
Like his bare balls or like
Not
balls?
as bad as they were still tighty whitey balls, but still, he put his balls on a dude's head. And I remember I was sitting next to the director.
I love that.
This guy named Bob Lampel, who was the greatest director. He's unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but really an amazing guy. And he ran every show. He made every show what it was. We're sitting there like, oh man. And this is the first season. I'm like, we're dead. We're over. This is not going to last. FCC or Mark or this guy's going to sue us and we're fucked. And I'm like, man, this is a bad situation. But it ended up, the guy was actually pretty funny about it. I bought him I probably gave him about $200 worth of free drinks that night just to make it go away.
Yeah,
and that was the end of it. I'm like, this could be a bad one for us.
Well, now he's got that story forever because Bobby Lee is so famous now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that guy's balls were on my head.
Yeah, apparently Bobby Lee's going on his first major tour as a solo act.
He's blown up. But I think it's because he's just so quirky. Yeah. He's authentically himself. You know?
Yeah.
Because how old is he? He's not young.
I have no idea.
He's really, but that's amazing.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time. Like that show was probably in 2013. So think about that. That's like 13 years ago already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how there are comics that like to get naked. Or like take their shirt, like the shirt off. Burt Kreischer's one. Yeah. And it's just like that's how they've kind of made their whole thing. And then there's the comics that were funny, overweight, and then they get skinny and they're not as funny. So then they have to get fat again.
True. But we were lucky. I mean, all the ones there were funny moments. Like I remember when Cheech Marin hosted the show, we were like, okay, I never asked comics what their set was. I mean, when you go on you probably know this from doing like late night TV, they want to know what you're going to do, what the timing is. You got to be clean.
Right.
We just gave them carte blanche. We're like, you're a pro. This is what you do for a living.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we never knew what they were going to do. And I remember Cheech Marin came up and he did 4 minutes of what was supposed to be an 8 to 10. And then he goes, okay, we'll be right back. And like all of us just standing there like, okay, now what am I going to do? And I think that night we had Dave Landau on and he ended up doing like a 15 to 20 minute set to cover for that, but that's the thing when you're doing a live show, we always had to figure out, we were doing the timing. And I remember running back and asking comedians, can you give me 1 minute more? Can you give me 3? Landau had to do like a ton of it at the end.
Well, he's good. I mean, he's doing really well now too.
Well, he's often on Jimmy Fallon's show. And Jimmy Fallon, who, has his own.
Greg Gutfeld's show, yeah.
Right. Well, Jimmy Fallon has his own show on Fox News every Saturday night.
We love you, Jimmy.
Yeah. And he became a good friend and over the years. And that guy was on our show. He did probably 3 or 4 sets. And he also wrote all the jokes for Pam Anderson, for William Shatner when we had him on. I think Steve Sharippa as well.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I know. Jimmy he's a brilliant writer.
He is.
Because he writes his own show now.
Yeah. And he's probably one of the best joke writers, like timely joke writers I've ever met.
Yeah.
So that's what's so great about that show because we got to meet all these up-and-comers like Sam Morril.
Yeah.
I get clips from that guy like 5 times a day on my Facebook feed. I think he did one of his performances on our show as well. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was probably one of the earliest ones.
Yeah. No, it was amazing just to watch. I mean, that was a big thing in the comedy thing is like you wanted to get on that show.
Yeah.
Like that was it. And then they tried to do something after Mark, got rid of the network.
Yeah.
Where they tried to do like a VR.
Yeah, they did the same thing.
That didn't do very well.
They did it virtual. I wasn't involved in that, but I know Chris booked that show. And it was really just so you could watch the comics on a virtual reality headset, which is weird.
Yeah.
It was
exactly.
a gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I loved about that show, I love that one, it was a different crew every night. And that made it special. It wasn't like always the same people over and over again. It wasn't the same host. We really got to experience a whole different world. But the hosts loved it. The comics loved it. The audience loved it. It actually made people happy every week. And my crew, these guys were working 1 night a week, for 6 years or whatever we did it for. And it was almost the same crew from the beginning to the end. And that's odd because, it wasn't like a regular job.
Right.
Right? They had to have their day jobs, but they all wanted to come and do this.
Yeah, because it's just fun. I mean, comedy is just it's great because it's things that people don't want to say or just laughter. Laughter is like the best medicine. It really. And sometimes I find myself, and maybe you're the same way. Like you're like, when's the last time I laughed really really hard, like uncontrollably? It doesn't happen that often for most people.
Yeah.
But unless you're like in a comedy to where you just like lose it, to where
I
you're
love when I
basically
lose
a hyena.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like that's the healing medicine. It's not just the ha ha ha.
It happens to me a lot. Like I'll be watching something with my kids and they almost get embarrassed when they see me like lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like you just lose control of your body because you're just laughing so hard and you can't even talk. It's almost embarrassing. You're like, I just need a minute.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I do mushrooms.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm not, but it's fine. No, I like the mushroom ones, but you can't get the ones that really make you laugh anymore. But it is the best feeling, But that's what's so great about comedy. So then after that, you guys are still doing a lot of true crime stuff, right? Can you get into some other ones?
We're still pitching. Look, the thing is, the networks these days are all looking for a few things. They want celebrity-oriented stuff. Like if you're going to do reality shows, celeb-oriented reality. Sports is a big deal. So if you have a show with LeBron James or your, Peyton Manning, you can. I mean, Peyton Manning's making country music shows. It's weird, right? But that's what he's doing.
Country music. What do you mean Peyton Manning's making?
Well, like his production company Omaha has a show. I think it's on Amazon, like a country music series. He always hosts the Country Music Awards.
I guess from Tennessee, or he went to UT.
Yeah, he went to UT. So, but it's interesting. The networks want that. And the other thing they want is true crime. So we always focus on stories that we think are really compelling and ones that the networks will say, okay, you've heard this story before, but here's a new twist. So obviously there's a lot of Jeffrey Epstein things that are coming out.
Yeah.
I just had a meeting with Oxygen today about a show that takes place in Palm Beach. And Palm Beach is one of like the dirtiest places on the planet. I mean, you could say, it's where Trump lives, but it's where Epstein lived. There's a lot of corruption there.
There's 60 billionaires on the island alone, right?
Yeah, and they're billionaires, multi-millionaires that get away with murder, get away with rape, get away with whatever the hell they want because crime doesn't. I mean, they're above the law in a lot of cases. It's really crazy.
Do you think that's still happening now?
Oh yeah, that's why we're pitching it. I think there's cases we could talk about in the past, but it's still going on. That's
crazy because I think people just thought, and in the past it was the case, kind of like the mob. You had the power, you had the money.
Yeah.
Rules for thee, not for me. Yeah. And that's just kind of how, politics and all that stuff kind of worked.
No, it's crazy. So the networks all want that. They'd rather see a reboot of like the John Bonet story if you have something new to tell, as opposed to like also a crime story they've never heard about before.
Yeah.
It's all about promotion. It's the same thing why the networks want major A-list celebrities or big comedians to do a special rather than some of these up-and-comers.
Well, yeah, because they want to like limit their risk.
I guess so.
But
then think about, how well Gotham did and how many people, what Gotham did for a lot of people was it launched a lot of careers.
Yeah.
So when you see Pete Davidson and Michael Che and Colin and guys like that, this is one of the places where they got their first television start and you become an incubator for these people.
100%. So why do you think, I mean, obviously we know why the networks won't take the risk because, nobody gets fired for saying no. So it's easier to say no. But with so many streaming options now and so many platforms to go to, why do you think it's still so hard to get shows across the board?
I think a lot of them, a lot of it's financial.
They need content.
They do. A lot of it's financial.
Yeah.
Also look what happened. I mean, right now you've got, Warner Brothers Discovery. A handful of years ago, it was Warner Brothers. Then it was Time Warner. Then it was AOL Time Warner.
Yeah.
And then AT&T bought it. And then Discovery bought them. So Scripps, which used to have like Food Network and House and Garden Television, then also got bought by Discovery. So what's happening is, and now we just had Paramount, right? Do the CBS deal, Paramount, CBS, and Skydance with Larry Ellison. Or David Ellison, rather. So now that's all been conglomerated. Now they're going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. So they're spending billions of dollars and laying off thousands of people, and they're cutting their programming, and they're just putting freezes on stuff. And that's what's been happening across the board. So a lot of ways things are getting financed now is either you find private financing.
Right.
They do crowdfunding, especially for documentaries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you'll hit it with a network. Again, if you have that sweet spot, if you find someone who's a celebrity and wants to do a reality show or a big sports, oriented show. So, for example,
So these networks aren't financing their own shows anymore?
They do, but much more limited capacity, not in the way they used to.
So, So do you think that all these mergers and them buying up and being under one roof is actually a bad thing?
It's not great for producers and not great for independent producers.
Yeah.
For some of the bigger studios that probably have long contracts and also for more of the people that have, that celebrity name, it works out okay.
Yeah.
But it's definitely tougher for a lot of us out there that have been trying to get these things out.
Yeah.
But I'm always optimistic and hopeful, and we have stuff in production. We have documentaries that we're doing. We just cut a deal for a true crime documentary about one that actually we've been working on for like 4 years, and everyone said no to. They said, It's a great story. We love it, but no one knows who this guy is. And it's the story of a guy who found out that he was very sick. He had just canceled his life insurance policy, just a dad of, 2 from, East Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he wasn't feeling well one day, and he had canceled his life insurance policy because he wanted to save some money. He was only 36 years old, and he didn't really need it because he had never been sick. Out of nowhere, he starts feeling sick. His doctor tells him, you've got 6 months to live. You're going to die, dude. We don't know what's going on, but your whole body is shutting down. And that kind of freaked him out. He's like, well, what do I do now? How do I take care of my kids? He made a bucket list. And on that bucket list was the one thing he's wanted to do most of his life, but never had the balls to do. And that's rob a bank. And he does it. He goes to a local bank in East Haven. He scouts it out for a couple of days. Now, he's lost a lot of weight. He's getting sicker and sicker. He's got a cane. He puts on like a mask, almost like one of those COVID ones. Yeah. This is 2012. And he goes into the bank, and he thinks he's going to go all dog day afternoon. Like he's going to like scare the shit out of people. I'm going to rob this bank, and I'm going to get out of here and get some money, put it away for my daughter. He walks into the bank, and everything changed. There was like, he held the door for a little old lady. He saw all these nice people waiting online. He walks up to the teller, who reminds him of his daughter, like this, young woman. And he says to her, I'd like all the large bills, please. I think you know what this is. And he sees she starts to cry. She gets really scared. And he goes, no. I don't have a gun. I don't have any weapons. I'm not going to hurt you. I would just like you to give the money, and then I'll leave. And I guess by protocol, she does. Yeah. He walks away with, 10 grand or whatever it is. Gets out and realizes, like, holy shit, that was easy. And his whole life changed. Like, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. He does it 19 more times. Robs 19 banks, never with a weapon, never a threat, gets away with it. People describe him as like the nicest bank robber with beautiful green eyes, really sweet. So we pitch a story, but the best part of the story is like he even does it right under the FBI's eyes. At one point, someone calls in a tip saying, "I think we know who this guy is," and they follow him. They see him like going to like Chinese buffets for like $5. They're like, this guy doesn't have any money. Look at him, he's a mess.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, eventually he does get into a situation where he's in a car chase. The police are after him. He ditches them into like the woods where he's hiding in a stream. His family comes and gets him. But it turns out the car that he was driving with his brother-in-law and the family was like, we don't want, him getting in trouble for your crimes. So he fessed up. And no one believed him at first, but he fesses up and he says, all right, I'm going to, take care of this. During that time, he gets a little bit healthier. And his doctors call and say, you're getting better, but we finally figured out what's going on with you. Whoever has been feeding you has been poisoning you for the last probably 6 months. It was his wife who was poisoning him for the insurance money that didn't even exist anymore, but she didn't know that, right? And that's the story. It's a great story. So that's an
amazing story.
So it's great. So we have a book proposal that was just bought. We're writing the book, and we're also going to be producing the documentary and a feature film.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's a great one. I mean, these are things that we look for these great weird stories.
Is she in jail now, the wife that was poisoning him?
No, he didn't care. He actually, I think he even stayed married to her for even a little while after that. He's this dude.
Very eccentric, he sounds like.
Yeah, he was like, all right, I'm cool with this. He was a nice guy.
That
Still
is crazy.
The nicest bank robber.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're being poisoned. He's like, just another day. What can you do?
Exactly.
But that's why it's kind of when you mention life insurance, it's like, I don't think you ever tell anyone you have a life insurance policy because it's kind of like a kill me note.
Yeah, you're
in
right.
a way. Like, I have a life insurance policy. You know, my nieces are the beneficiaries. I don't. Let's make sure they don't hear that. You know, they're like, oh, how did we kill Auntie? You know what I mean? Like, you know, we don't have to do chores anymore. So I think it's a dangerous, I think it's good to have it, but there's a lot of people that have been killed over those things.
Oh, for sure. Probably in Palm Beach.
I don't know if they need life insurance there.
Well,
I mean, it's always good to have
they come with the
extra
inheritance
money.
either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of murder there, for sure. A lot of ones you don't even hear about.
Really?
So,
like
yeah,
still to this day?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Because there's probably a lot of, I was there recently. You know, it's very clean, very high end, but I think when you get people, like people that have like made their own money, like they're normal, like they're inspiring, they're awesome. When you start getting into these generational families where the wealth just keeps, you know, being passed on and passed on and passed on, that's when you start to get a lot of weirdness, right? And like a lot of these egocentrical type thing. And that's where I think a lot of the shit.
And they feel entitled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the world, you know, everybody owes them something or something like that.
But you're right. There are some of those billionaires, like when I say, you know, Mark Cuban, you know, he was the best client I've ever had in any network.
Because he's self-made.
Yeah.
Self-made.
And he's just honest. He said, you know what? And he didn't give a crap. Like you know, when you're dealing with a lot of networks, you're going through layers and layers of people. They're all worried about their job. And they don't, you know, you never really know who has the power. It used to be, when we first started pitching shows, there'd be like one decision maker, maybe two. You could sell a show in a room. That does not happen anymore. It really doesn't.
That's crazy.
It goes through legal. It goes through standards and practices. It goes through their marketing people. Everyone has a say in what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it could take months before they make a decision.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? You just keep pushing out the content.
Oh, yeah.
The idea
That's why like this
change.
bank robber thing was a passion project, you know, and it was exciting. And now we finally found someone that digs it and wants to make it.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is a funny story.
It's great. And the guy, you know, I mean, he was so good that with the first money he got, he put some of that away for his daughter. And the rest he used to buy like a cemetery plot for himself, which is hilarious, right? And then for all the other banks he robbed, he donated that money to St. Jude's in cash, anonymously.
Okay, the story like gets even funnier.
Yeah. Oh, it's even weirder.
That's,
I mean,
it
it gets,
what?
Yeah. And he only spent 18 months in jail after the whole thing because
everyone's like, he really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and also because it was a small town, they consolidated a lot of the cases. And because it was a small town, you know, he grew up with the judge, you know, and the attorneys. They all knew each other. So they're like, they're not going to mess with each other. You could say it's like Palm Beach, like they were protecting each other. But in this case, you know, it wasn't as hardcore victim.
Yeah. No, Palm Beach. Yeah, Palm Beach is a different. I like Palm Beach. I think it's a lot of fun. I felt very young when I was at Palm Beach. It's a very older island.
Yeah.
Yeah, like very older island. But yeah, people are, you know, but when I was down in Florida, retirement's alive and well down there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought coming to Nashville 4 years ago, it was going to be like Florida weather. And today it's like 30 degrees out, which just sucks. But I'm like, oh,
but it's not as bad as New York weather.
No, not
you know,
even close.
at least we're going to get a spring.
Yeah, I dig it.
Like spring left New York probably 15 years ago, never returned.
That's true.
Now
Fair
you
enough.
get like straight from winter to summer. And it wouldn't get warm till like end of June.
Yeah.
You know, so at least like, you know, the weather's a little bit better here.
So, well, you just moved here too. Are you digging it?
Yeah, the water's a little hard. I got to get a different, you know, water softener. But yeah,
Never thought of
so
that.
far so good. You know, everybody's. The one thing I don't like about Nashville, what's up with the no sidewalks?
It's weird.
Yes, because I like to walk, and also the, you know, there's not a lot of parks like downtown. And it's like I want to hike and be in nature and ride my bike and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
there's not a lot of that.
Yeah, that's
You got to
a
get
little-
out to like, you know, the Brentwoods or the Leapers Forks or the, you know, there's more out there.
Exactly. And I need to meet all the you know, great, brilliant minds that have moved here, you know, similar to, you know, all the people with Exodus out of California and New York for, you know, very similar reasons. So,
But
kind
much
of, you
nicer
know-
people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what I described, you know, this is, and I was telling our engineer, I said, you know, this is like, felt like LA with less attitude. You know, it's kind of how it feels. But yeah, but the Southern still has different quirks, you know, like you can't access porn.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
I wouldn't know about that.
I think it's a very good thing. But apparently all the red states are like that. Florida is the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I think it's a good thing. It's like clean up your act because
I thought all the pornographers lived in Florida, aside from the Valley.
Those are the OnlyFans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. They just have to upload their IDs.
That's funny.
And then what else? Yeah, I haven't really run into like the clickiness of it, but I've heard that the South can be pretty clicky. I think people are just going based on the kind of the movies. But no, so far so good. I think it's, I've done Broadway a couple times because I don't consider myself a local yet. I haven't been here long enough.
I go there all the time. Why not?
It's fun. Do you know what my favorite honky tonk is? Mm-mm. I think Robert's Western
Best
World.
one.
Yes.
You can get a really good whiskey for like a few bucks and they give you a good pour. And it's fun. The bands there are great.
The bands are amazing. It's kind of an older crowd.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel as like college bachelorette.
Yeah.
And but I haven't had the recession special, which is the fried bologna sandwich.
No, I've never had a fried bologna sandwich myself.
But there was like we went there on Friday and some guy had it and he goes, "It'll change your life." I'm like, well, maybe my heart valves, but I don't know about my life.
It'll change your life.
It'll change. Yeah.
I like Broadway. I like going down there. It's fun for me. It's not like I'm hanging out like, slamming whiskeys at any of these honky tonks, but
right.
It's fun to just go and my daughter likes to go and just walk up and down the street. To me, that's fun.
Yeah.
And have you hit the Opry yet?
I've not.
No.
I got to do that. I haven't done the Ryman. I haven't done the Opry. So yeah, I've got to. There's a lot I still have to do.
I filmed a lot at the Opry, but I filmed a lot at the Ryman too, and that's a great place. I mean, we shot a special for Angela Johnson, who also moved here from LA a few years ago.
Oh, so she lives here now?
Yeah, she lives here now.
Oh,
so
nice.
she did a great special. We shot that in, I don't know, 22 or 23.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's on YouTube, and it's great.
That's great.
It looks great.
Yeah. So a lot of people that have moved here from California.
Oh, yeah. And the comedy scene is definitely booming here, too, because so there's only one club, and that's Zanies.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's one called Third Coast. There's other places that are popping up, but Zanies is like the club where pretty much anyone, who you know of is going to perform. And they also opened up a second theater called The Lab, which is where Nate Bargatze and his crew do their podcast out of every week. But they do great shows. It's like Gotham Comedy Club. It's like maybe holds like 200 somewhat people.
Yeah.
200, 300 people. We shot 12 episodes there. No, 24 episodes of a show called Stand Up Nashville, which also had people like, Dusty Slay, Aaron Weber, who's, rising comic. Leanne Morgan did a show there for us.
Oh, yeah. She's great.
I mean, that's been a great run too.
Yeah.
So if we could do more of those, I'll be the happiest person alive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's just like, people want to laugh. And Leanne Morgan, she's really blown up with her Netflix. I just love her accent. I think Southern accents, I'm not a fan of the New York or Boston accent, but the Southern accent, I don't mind. Thank God, because I moved to the South. But it's just funny.
No, she killed it. And they've, like I said, the owner of that club also, just like Chris in New York, has a great rep, has a great, long list of comedian friends that are really famous that are happy to come and do shows there. Yeah. And again, it's a real treat. Like we saw Bill Bellamy there a few months ago, in a tiny club, and he killed. Yeah. You don't get to see that so often.
It's like a legendary place, kind of off the beaten path a little bit. I think there's a Taco Bell over there, which is like, more reason to come over here.
So that's, so to me, if we could keep doing more of those, and that's what we've been pushing as much as we can. The true crime we've been doing, obviously, but, to be able to do more of the comedy, that's what we really want.
Well, you're passionate about that, and I think that comes across, and, there will be a home for it.
Oh, for sure.
You just got to kind of see where it lands. But it'll be interesting to see how, if there's going to be, I'm surprised there's not more clubs opening up here with all these people coming here.
Yeah.
It's like, how are they working on their stuff? But I think you get to a point, and I think COVID really changed the game here, where you don't have to be on stage as much as you thought you did in the past. Like in New York, it's like, oh, you've got to do 5 shows a night, you know? And what they realize is, no, you actually don't. You can enjoy your life and experience life, and that way you'll have material to drive from, versus just not having any life and being a comedian. You don't have as much to.
Yeah, but when you were in New York and you're doing sets and you're going from, let's say you're going from the Comedy Cellar to Gotham to, West Coast or West Side Comedy Club, and you're doing all those things, you're getting what, $50 a set. So if in one night you can make a couple of $100, that's why they do it, right? You go from place to place to place to place. You don't have that option here.
No.
You know?
Yeah. No, you definitely don't.
So
well,
and the way they're making money now, I mean, I get like reels from all these different comics. The way, the networks aren't really paying for specials anymore. So a lot of comedians are paying for their own. They'll do, and maybe they could, shoot something for like $5,000, $10,000, right? Get a crew, get them one night, and they just take those clips and they just start putting up these little 1-minute clips on Instagram or on Facebook Reels.
And it's worked for people.
And that's making the money. Or put it up on YouTube, and that gets you attention.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's been tough for them to get.
I think it's good with social media is how it's given people that used to have to go through a gatekeeper to become known, like a way to build their own audience. Yeah. Which is so important. And reduces like the power of the Hollywood gatekeeper, so to say.
For sure.
So now you get to see people kind of get to find their own audience. Like Matt Rife is an example. I didn't know who the hell he was.
Yeah, me neither.
But he became famous off the crowd work, and he had a chiseled jawline, and people fell in love with him. Yeah. So it's like, shit, good for you. I think it's great because doing those TikToks and those social media things can be awkward sometimes.
Yeah. It's funny, like if you hone in on someone, especially on social, like I get Jimmy Carr reels 100 times a day. Do you know him?
No.
British comic. I thought maybe everyone's getting it, but maybe just because I saw one or two.
You're probably watching it now. They
and
just
they're
keep
hilarious.
feeding it.
I mean, they're absolutely brilliant.
Jesus is returning. Videos.
Oh, really? Is that what's been happening? Even
yeah, our algorithms are very different.
That's pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of Sam Morril ones, which are hilarious too. I used to get all these Liz Mealy ones. Do you know Liz?
Yeah.
She's a New York comic.
Yeah, she's
those come in. But it's cool. It shows me that, like, in fact, we did a series for Showtime called Funny Women of a Certain Age. It was all female comics over 50.
Yeah.
And it was created by my friend Carol Montgomery.
Okay.
So we did 3 of those. And she's still out there doing it. So her whole thing was, I want to get women who have not been recognized, especially older women, their chance. And we were able to pull off 3 amazing Showtime specials until everyone there got fired. So, but she's still doing it all across the country. One of the women who's one of my favorite comics is Lynn Koplitz.
Yeah.
She's a real old school New York comedian.
She's great.
She was like best friends with Joan Rivers. And by the way, as a side note, Joan was supposed to host an episode of Gotham.
Yeah.
That was like my dream. I'm like, we had, like I said, 100 and something different comedians host that show. And when we finally got her to do it, I was like, this is going to be the greatest night ever. And unfortunately, she passed away about 1 week after agreeing to do our show. And that was just the worst. Buzzkill, sorry. But that was really awful.
I know. She was the best. She was my favorite.
Yeah, me too. But Lynn is one of my other favorite comics. And so one of the clips from the Funny Women show somehow got put onto Instagram. And she ended up getting almost 30 million views on that clip.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable, right?
Yeah. And it
totally and then you have to use those to your advantage to try to get her the next special and to say to the networks, look what this did,
Yeah.
And that's how you have to do it.
Yeah, no.
Regardless of how good you are, how many shows you've done, how many specials you've done, if you have that following on Instagram or TikTok,
well, that's
what these guys are looking for.
That's the power of social media, right?
Sure.
They're always like looking how many followers do you have, how many, it's hard. I think it's the age of being authentic, which I've talked about on a previous episode, of just being yourself. And that's really, finding that audience that's going to relate and gravitate towards you. And that's how the magic happens, no matter what you're doing. It's amazing the shit that we watch on social media.
Oh yeah, I
watch people like organize their snacks. That's I'm not kidding. Have you seen those things where they have these like little perfect little section packets, and then they restock their little things, and they have the little noise between them. So then they put it perfectly aligned, and then they unpack all their little sodas.
I haven't seen that genre yet. I remember unboxing videos that people just, No, and my kids will show me stuff on TikTok that they think is hilarious, and I'm like, I'm like, there's no irony, there's no I don't get it. I love it. It's weird.
I know. It's just like a different day and age, but at least there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
Right?
So
it's not the age of Aquarius. What does the age of Aquarius even mean?
I don't know.
It was
like that's my wife.
Song.
She's into all the, astrology and stuff.
Yeah, but it's always good. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
This was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that we got to reconnect because we met through the comedy scene, and we were both up in New York, and now we're down in Nashville, and you're in the new Nashville studio. So I'm excited.
I love it.
Yeah, we're going to make some magic happen. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. What I know is that even again, I still pitch to networks every single day. Like I said, I talk to Oxygen today. I'll talk to, HBO and Amazon and everyone else in the next few days about other projects. But what's interesting is that there is definitely, especially here in Nashville, a big surge of entertainment. So there's a lot of people shooting shows here. There's a lot of producers moving here, a lot of comedians, a lot of talent. There's a lot of actors that you wouldn't expect are living here. Yeah. And they're all cool. They're all people that want to do something unique and special,
I love that.
So that's definitely a big thing that's happening. And I'm glad.
We all came to the Bible Belt to produce the magic.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, where can people find you and check out some of your shows that you've produced, all that good stuff?
I have a website, which is www.killer-bunny.com. So the little hyphen in between. And then from there, I do have an Instagram page. I have a YouTube page, which is like Killer Bunny Comedy, which has a bunch of the clips from Gotham and from other comedy shows we've done as well. Okay. Those are the best places. And I'm also now, I'll say the last thing I'm working on, and what got me to Nashville, if you don't mind, is a documentary about the longest running member of the Grand Ole Opry, whose name is Whisperin' Bill Anderson. Now, Bill has written thousands of songs, hundreds of hits, and has a really fascinating, he's 88 years old. This year will be his 65th year as a member of the Opry, which is longer than anyone. And the Opry's only been around for 100 years. So this guy's been around for 2/3 of the Opry. Yeah. And he's amazing. He still performs 2 or 3 nights every month at the Opry. And a song he wrote and performed was just recorded with him and Dolly Parton that was nominated for a Grammy a couple of years ago. He just wrote a song for Barbra Streisand. He has another one that he wrote for Willie Nelson. He writes with Brad Paisley and Vince Gill. The guy's unbelievable. So we're making that film. And you can go to Bill Anderson documentary on Instagram and you can see some of the clips that we're working on that. That's the passion project that got me here.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that Whispering Bill got you here. Yeah. Because now I'm here too.
Right on.
It's going to be a great ride. So thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to everybody listening wherever you may be. We will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.